Good morning, welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Monday, November 22nd, 2010. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S., 4:30 p.m. in London. In Hamilton, it's 12:30, and in Mexico City, 10:30. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. Just a programming note. This week is the American Thanksgiving holiday. Our offices will be closed on Thursday and Friday, or there will be no broadcasts. On this day in history, 47 years ago today, November 22nd, 1963, American President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. We have some breaking news today. The Insurance Insider is reporting that Willis North American Chairman and CEO Don Bailey has resigned and will join Allstate. The Insurance Insider is reporting also that Bailey will resign his seat on Willis Group's executive committee. Willis appointed Bailey chairman and CEO of its U.S. and Canadian operations in 2006. We don't have any verification of this, but the Insider is usually spot on in these sorts of things. So Don Bailey will be leaving Willis and heading to Allstate. Now to our main news. All over the weekend, it seems that a bailout was finally crafted for Ireland, and according to the Insurance Day today, the bailout scheme will entail an increase in income tax for consumers, regular people, but it will not increase the 12.5% corporate tax rate for companies. A rescue package for Ireland, which has seen its economy become linked with the problems facing its banks, was announced last night in Dublin in just enough time for the market's opening today. The stock market in New York is down about 78 points right now. Loans and contingency support of up to 124 billion U.S. will come with a requirement for Ireland to reduce its budget deficit to 3% of its GDP by 2014. The IMF is going to put about a third of the loan in. The European Financial Stability Facility will put in the bulk of it, actually, most of it. Details of the Irish four-year budget cut plan is going to be revealed tomorrow. France and Germany have been very, very insistent that this plan will increase Ireland's 12.5% corporate tax rate, supposedly just as a revenue-raising measure, but also because of a political move due to resentment because of Ireland's competitive advantage in this area. However, statements over the weekend by several leading global firms that they would reconsider their domicile in Ireland if the corporate tax rate was increased strengthened the Irish claim that any increase in the corporation tax rate would make Ireland's fiscal position worse rather than better. So it's going to fall on the backs of the 4.5 million population. Wow. Update from Christopher Monroe on Insurance Day on the Gulf Coast Claims Facility. About 455,000 claims have been filed with the GCCF following the Deepwater Horizon disaster back in the spring. As of November 18th, slightly more than 119,000 of the 400,000 or so claimants have been received or have been approved or received approval for payment at a cost of a little bit more than 1.88 billion U.S. Of all those claims that have been paid out, about 118,000 relate to loss of earnings or profits. The Gulf Coast Claims Facility was established to deal with all the claims relating to the Deepwater Horizon oil spill from individuals and businesses. It's fueled by a $20 billion escrow fund set up by BP, and it's administered by Kenneth Feinberg. 87,000 of the claims that have been paid so far were filed by individuals. The remainder come from businesses. 186,000 were submitted by individuals or businesses in Louisiana. 136,000 were brought by people or businesses in Florida. About 63,000 came from people or businesses in Alabama, and Mississippi came in with about 49,000. So the fishing industry was the one that was hit the most, actually. They've seen about $347 million paid out in claims. Retail, sales, and service sectors have had about $307 million paid out. Well, in New Zealand, the news is probably going to be grim. Hope is waning this morning for the survival of 29 New Zealand coal miners. They've now been trapped for 3 days underground. There's been no contact with them. This is at the Pike River mine on the country's South Island. There was a massive explosion there on Friday. A buildup of methane gas is the suspected cause of the explosion. There's also a fire smoldering deep underground that's emitting other gases. The rescuers are trying to drill a 500-foot-long, 6-inch wide pipe into the mine to get a better idea of the air quality. Then they're going to feed in a very high-resolution laser camera into the hole to get a look as to what's going on down there. But the prognosis is grim at this point. In China, rescuers actually successfully freed 29 coal miners who were trapped for about a day in a flooded coal mine in the Sichuan province area. China Central TV showed live images of miners being taken to ambulances today. Waiting crowd erupted into celebratory applause, of course. Al Jazeera's reporter on the scene, Melissa Chan, said that, in fact, the fact that China State TV was broadcasting Monday's rescue effort live was a very significant move. Quote, according to her, it's an indication that officials at some point realized that they were going to be able to rescue these people. Of course, the record of mine disasters and fatalities in China is the worst in the world. There was a major earthquake to the east of Taiwan yesterday, a 5.6. You see it here. Struck at 8:31 p.m. local time Sunday. There have been no damage or injuries reported. The Taiwanese initially reported it as a 6.1, but the USGS came in with 5.6. Tremors apparently were felt in the Taiwanese capital of Taipei. We'll go to a word from our sponsors and come back with the rest of the news.
Design for peace.
We saw this story last week, actually. Why don't we bring up this picture? This is a scene near Loch Lomond in northern England. There was a mysterious explosion in the woods there last week. We saw the story and didn't really think it was worth being referred to in the broadcast. However, a terrorism expert, Professor David Kapananchik, who's with Aberdeen's Robert Gordon University, says that he believes that the explosion last week is proof that an attack on the United Kingdom is imminent. He says the blast could well have been a test run for an atrocity. He said, quote, terrorists get training in Pakistan or Afghanistan as to how to put these bombs together, but the critical thing is how to detonate it. I would think that they were planning for something imminent. Police swooped in on the area Wednesday after a dog walker heard a substantial blast near the town of Garacharn. It's thought several devices were discovered, but police sources claim that the materials found at the site are so unstable that they will have to be recovered by teams in armored vehicles. The bomb is said to have been assembled in a unique way, and there are fears that it's a type never seen before. Police are following a number of, quote, positive lines of inquiry. Well, in Hamburg, Germany, they used to behead pirates down at the port. Beginning today, the first trial for piracy in 400 years is starting in Germany. 10 Somali men are in the dock accused of attempting to seize a German container ship back in April. That container ship, of course, was the MS Taipan, about 560 miles east of the Somali coast. There are still about 500 crew members representing 23 ships being held by pirates in Somalia. The head of marine underwriting at Munich Re, Dieter Berg, said that the trial was unlikely, however, to deter others from rushing to join the Horn of Africa's most lucrative business. Another expert at the German Institute for Economic Research, the DIW people who put out the index, Anja Shortland, said that for a Somali pirate to be tried in the West, this is interesting, might be the ultimate prize rather than a deterrent. She said spending 3, 5, or even 7 years in a European or American jail, followed by political asylum, she said you can't do much better as a Somali man. That's a sad but true state of affairs. Take a look at this bus. This is a bus that ended up being the scene of death for about 9 tourists in Egypt. The bus flipped over several times Friday night. 36 people were injured. The bus is owned by a company called Hurghada. It was carrying tourists from Russia, Germany, and Ukraine who had booked a tour to Cairo. The bus was apparently heavily overloaded and going well above the speed limit. The driver is hospitalized and prosecutors are waiting to talk to him. This is the King of Saudi Arabia, 86 years old, King Abdullah. He's heading to the United States today. He handed over his duties to the Crown Prince, who's 84 years old, yesterday. The king is apparently coming to the U.S. for treatment about a blood clot and a slipped disc. He's most likely on the way to the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio, or he could be going to the Mayo Clinic. It's not known yet. Either way, he'll be under very, very intensive guard. He would present quite a juicy target for Al-Qaeda. To our final story, when airlines are having difficulties, you note that no comments are ever issued by other airlines, and there's a reason for that, because the fickle finger of fate can sometimes point at you. Obviously, the past several weeks we've been discussing Qantas and all the problems that they've been encountering. Well, over the weekend it was Delta's turn. 3 Delta jets made emergency landings. The 3 incidents included 2 planes on international routes and 1 was on a transcontinental route in the U.S. All flights landed safely with no injuries. The incidents included a New York to Moscow bound Delta 767. 200 people are on board. That returned to Kennedy Airport last night after losing thrust from a left engine just after takeoff. Also yesterday, a Boeing 767 going from Atlanta to Los Angeles declared an emergency after reporting an engine problem and came back to Atlanta. And also on Saturday, Delta 757 heading from Philadelphia to Ireland, apparently, we don't know exactly the destination, had to land at Shannon, Ireland, the westernmost European airport, after an engine problem developed while the plane was crossing the Atlantic. Delta saying that a preliminary indication is that a compressor stalled. Last month, Delta said that in-flight engine shutdowns had occurred at a higher rate this year, attributing the increase to maintenance issues from the challenge of combining Delta's maintenance operations with those of Northwest Airlines after the 2 airlines merged last year. Delta beefed up certain inspections as well as maintenance, but apparently they're still running into some difficulties. No one was injured, all planes landed safely, there's been no property loss, and things continue to move ahead as scheduled.